Hello, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I want to share with you a Facebook post, a quick video story here about Rene Escobar Sanchez. He is a missing man. It was reported missing from Odessa, Texas in July of 2008. That was right before I moved here. It was actually right before Mike Lawhon, the previous owner of my home, died. And I've wondered if Rene was one of the four people that had been murdered, that died in my house, that Aaron Packelhofer had told me about. And so this is a short read, and I'm just going to jump right in and show you some of the evidence files and what I think here, why law enforcement should investigate this. Okay, first of all, here's the Texas Department of Public Safety. Missing persons here. Here's a picture of Mr. Sanchez right there, 5'8", date of birth 1972, and last seen on July 12, 2008, age missing 36 years old. Okay, and so here's the little write-up that I did and on my Facebook post. And this is a short read here, and I think you'll find it real interesting. If you have any questions after the fact, you post them, in the comments, whatever. I'll try to answer them. And but I think you're going to find this really interesting. Okay. A former neighbor, Marilyn Dlugi, told me twice that the young previous owner of my home, Mike Lawhon, had died here. This is at 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas, where I was ambushed and shot. But she also said that somebody else had died here before Mike did. Okay, and then and one of the key things is Marilyn had told me twice that Mike died in that house, and that's a whole nother story because his death certificate's in Fort Worth. All right, and there's I believe he was killed here and taken to Fort Worth, but either way, on July 12, 2008. 3 months before Mike Lawhon died, Rene Escobar Sanchez was reported missing from Odessa, Texas. His death was ruled a murder, and a person went to prison for it, but no body has ever been found. So the body of Rene has never been found. After I moved into this house, I would often smell a death smell on the west side of my home, and I found a half-buried pile of cut-up clothes. I mean, every time it'd rain, whatever, these clothing fragments would come up. I'd find them over there. The smell was really strong on warm days, but I didn't report it because I didn't know where Mike Lawhon had died at, the previous owner of this home. One day I had walked around the neighbor's house. I thought my neighbor had died, and that death smell was so strong on the west side of my home. In early 2013, I wrote Odessa Crimestoppers and suggested that somebody look here for Rene, but they didn't look, as Jesus Miguel Venegas confessed to killing Rene without a body ever being found. Now, keep in mind, I was ambushed and shot in January 2012. So it was after I was ambushed and shot when I contacted Crimestoppers and suggested they come here to my home. And of course, my home is the home where the underground home is, that was used for the oil show parties and believed to be connected to multiple murders. Okay. Anyway, this was 4 years after he had gone missing. This confession to murder was 4 years later. What a coincidence, since I had just suggested to law enforcement to look here where there just happens to be a secret underground home which was hosting underground parties and where it's believed a young girl was murdered at in 2010. The Odessa American posted a picture of Jesus with this huge smile on his face, which looked more like he had just won the lottery rather than he had just confessed to capital murder. I wonder if he had been bribed to confess so the underground homes here would not be exposed. After I bought this home, I found a huge stain which had been hidden by a rug in the living room, and I also found what I thought was a gunshot hole in the fireplace rock. I later wondered if Rene was killed right there. I'm going to show you a picture of that here in a minute. I painted this entire home and had new carpet put in right after moving here, so it's not there. The carpet's gone. But possibly DNA could be found under it, soaked into the concrete slab. I don't know. But, I'm just thinking maybe under it there's something. This theory of Rene being murdered here seemed to be confirmed when Aaron Packelhofer asked me if I knew the names of the 4 people who had been murdered, died in my home. I didn't know, but obviously he did, right? I wondered if Rene was one of the people that Aaron was counting. Okay, and Aaron, if you remember, I recently done some stories because I saw where Aaron got a $72,000 gift or grant from Midland Development Court after I documented him telling me that 4 people had been murdered, died in my house. And the question was asked if there was a payoff, that happened there. And then right after I made that Facebook post, I mean, within just a couple days, then one of the directors of the Midland Development Court steps down, and that was in the news recently. I saw a video on YouTube about Rene which said that he was last seen at a party going on at the home of Tomas Lopez. Interestingly, a Tomas Lopez came to my home one day and asked if I wanted them to do brick mortar repair for me, which they did. I don't know if this is the same Tomas though, but I thought it was interesting. I think it'd be real interesting if I found out the guy that did my brick mortar repair was the same guy where Rene Escobar Sanchez was last seen at, but there's no way for me to figure that out, and it's just somewhere we're going to have to find real law enforcement or legitimate law enforcement. Not long after this, I wrote the Department of Justice and suggested they come to my home and find. Okay, here, let me read that again. Not long after this, I wrote the Department of Justice and suggested they come to my home, find the underground homes here, and look for clues in the disappearance of then missing Haley Dunn. But once again, they didn't look, and 2 days later, her remains were found in Scurry County. It was just like Rene Escobar Sanchez. As soon as I suggest somebody comes here and looks on the west side of my lawn, all of a sudden they find his remains, okay? And, so it wasn't long after that, it's like, I suggest they come here and look in the underground homes for then missing Haley Dunn, and all of a sudden they find her remains over in Scurry County, Haley had been missing for over 2 years, and then poof, just like that, they found her. That's like here, here, Rene been dead for 4 years. As soon as I suggest somebody comes here, Jesus goes, I did it, with this huge smile on his face, right? And so nobody comes here. She had been missing for over 2 years, and poof, just like that, they found her. Now there's almost a dozen people documented, print screens, recorded phone calls, etc., as saying the Haley was killed in Odessa. And that's who, where, when, how, with plenty of details. I mean, the rest should have been made, a long time ago for the people that murdered that little girl. And so, anyways, I'm going to go over these pictures here. This picture, I took pictures on my first day to look at this house with my realtor. It's listed on the market, and I walked through the home and I took these pictures. And this is a picture of the living room on that first day, October 1st, 2008. Mike Lawhon was still alive on this day, but he was dead 12 days later. Okay, and then a month later is when I moved in here. Under this big gray rug right here, it hid this huge, ugly, dark stain. And I wondered if, because you couldn't see it, right here. And then until after I bought the house and I moved in and I was doing the remodeling, I was painting and I was replacing all the carpet. When I pulled that rug up, I saw that terrible stain there. Of course, then it got all replaced because I replaced all the rug and all that. And I didn't know where Mike had died at. And also in that rock on that fireplace there, I found a hole that was a big hole. And I remember telling my mom once, it looks like a gunshot. And she says, maybe it was, and it's like right in here in this area right here. And, I filled it in and I ended up painting all that fireplace brick there. So it's covered up now. But I wondered if Rene wasn't killed right there, in that room and then buried on the west side of the lawn. I'm just going to run through the attachments here. This was from my YouTube channel. I'd created a video, and this was from Rene's daughter, Drea. And hi, I'm Rene's daughter. I would like to know what you think about all this. Maybe it's connected or not. A man was arrested, but no body or no other evidence was found. So that, I was contacted by the daughter of Rene. She grew up without her dad, without answers. This family has no answers. They've never had closure. And of course I wrote my sincerest condolences about your dad, and I explained my story to her, Here is the Odessa American. I'm not sure, they have been deleting news stories that I've made a point out of, and I made a point of this one. I have to go back and see if they've deleted this one, and maybe I shouldn't bring it up because they'll go delete it today or whatever, because that's what I keep seeing the Odessa American keeps doing, is keeps deleting news stories. But here, what the point I'm making, this is the guy that confessed to the murder of Rene 4 years after Rene's dead. Look at the smile on his face. Okay, that's what I was talking about. It looks like he just won the lottery. I'm wondering, somebody bribed him to confess and going, oh yeah, there's no body not gonna be found. You're not gonna go to jail. But he did go to jail. He went to jail, and then no body was ever found. Ain't that weird? Here's a missing. There's more pictures of Rene, and showing July 12th where he's missing from Odessa, Texas. And it says here on the bottom, Sanchez was last seen drinking beer inside the garage of a house at 1900 block of North Hancock in Odessa at 11 p.m. on July 12, 2008. And I think that was the home of Tomas Lopez. Okay. And he left his vehicle, cell phone, cap, money, identification, and wallet behind. He's never been heard from again. He was a mechanic, time of disappearance, no enemies, devoted to his family. It was uncharacteristic. Okay. And then in July 2013, 4 or 5 years later, Jesus Miguel Venegas confessed to Sanchez's murder. This was right after I suggested to Odessa Crimestoppers that somebody come look at my house. And I was like, oh, I did it. Nobody go look at Buddy's house. Don't look at Buddy's house. I did it. Got a big old smile on his face. I did it. I confessed to capital murder 5 years later, and so nobody come here. Here is the screenshots from an email that I had sent to this reporter with the Odessa American. His name was John Vanderland, and I said, John, I seen your article on police corruption, and I thought I'd share the story. This tip was submitted to the Odessa Police Force on a web form on January 15th. That'd be 2013. About Rene. I said, I would think that if it hadn't been found yet, they might want to come look here at my home. My yard isn't that big. And as you can read, I told them that I believe clothing fragments can still be found. Also wondered if Rene's family had been made aware of this tip that I submitted. I am open to discussing with them why I think that this might be where the murderers hid Rene's body. I understand that you're not interested in the story of the murder attempt on my life, where I was ambushed and shot by someone near my home, and now we know that police were under my home, or the irrefutable evidence that shows that I have been, because I live in Midland, and that's the Odessa American, okay, and the Odessa American says we don't do stories on Midland, so anyways, here I attached what I had sent to Crimestoppers in early 2013. And this was the message to Crimestoppers. I said, I transferred to Midland in October 2008, and I bought a home at 3802 Fair Circle. This home was in poor shape and looked like it was abandoned when I bought it. Right after I first moved here, I noticed the smell of something dead on the west side of my home, but I could never locate it. That smell was there for about 6 months. Even walked around the west neighbor's house once to see if the smell was coming from there. I said something about it to my next door neighbor here, Vargas over here. That's the one that had the suspected tunnel entrance in the backyard. Okay. Also found remnants of clothing that was half buried by the fence on this side of my home. I would bet that some of that clothing remnants could still be found. I mean, that's what I was saying. Every time it'd rain or whatever, it'd wash up, I'd find these clothing fragments. Since this was 4 years ago, it was prior to me figuring out that my home was being broken into repeatedly and being shot from a hidden basement on January 28, 2012. I have overwhelming proof that I was shot from under a cabinet in my utility room, but I've been unable to get local police to do anything about it. Understand that this is not OPD's problem, but the place from where I was shot is on the same wall as where the dead body smell was coming from back when I first moved here. And I'm not reporting this to bring attention to the hidden basement and the murder attempt of my life, even though it would be nice to alert you that I think it's possible that Rene might have been buried on or near this property 4 years later. Okay, so that was Odessa Crimestoppers, but then right after that, then Jesus says, I did it with this big old smile on his face, and nobody looked here, and they never found a body. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Here, I want to go here. Okay. This is on the west side. I just took a picture one day of one of the clothing fragments that I had found, that was next to that tree that's on the west side of my lawn over there. And, many, many times I find that. There's the living room. Okay. The note from the daughter. Okay, I think we're through there. And so I still think, the possibilities there. I had made a movie here. I don't know if anybody's seen it several years ago. This video contains a clip from another video where the wife of Rene talks about what happened to them. And this is where I found out about the party at the home of Tomas Lopez. And, I'm not going to include this. I'm just going to start it real quick. So. The reason I thought about this, Danny here now runs an estate sales business. I saw him yesterday. We talked about this. He's interviewing the wife of Rene. That's why I thought about this today. And so hopefully somewhere out there we can find some legitimate law enforcement, and then start doing some investigations on these multiple murders in these underground homes here in Midland. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.